Okay, good evening and welcome back to part 4 of week 5's MN204 lecture, where we were talking about knowledge. We talked about data management systems, how we process data to make information and knowledge and in turn wisdom. As we talked about databases and data management systems. Then we went on and we talked about innovation. We talked about innovation and the difference between innovation and invention. So basically, innovation is discovery, where innovation is applying that discovery and bringing it into use. So we talked about the existing kind of approaches to innovation that were focused on, very much invent it first, keep it secret, develop it, you first to market, all these things. And then we kind of suggested that model of innovation is actually eroded, and that firms are now being advocated to use external knowledge to advance their technology. So what we're going to talk about for the next while is open innovation. And this idea is, an assumption that innovations are best developed by letting ideas flow in and out of the organization to find better sites for monetization. So that's, if it flows out of the organization, inside out, and to flow into the organization as new offering and new business models outside in. So the idea is that we don't necessarily have to invent it to make money out of it, and if we can't use it, we should give it to somebody else. So it's a more holistic approach to innovation, and it's less wasteful in some ways. Okay, so if we compare the model now, where we see that we now have two technology bases. We've our internal research base, but we've also external technology base. So that means that the people in the environment are actually in the organization are scanning the environment for new technologies that may be available. So then we bring, the technology through our pipeline, and we suddenly start thinking, well, we can actually take advantage of this particular technology, so we'll spin it off, or we'll get into a partnership with somebody else, and that will develop new markets. So at all stages, there's technology and ideas are coming in and out of the organization, so it's no longer a closed innovation pipeline. So with outside in, one of the advantages of it is the company gets to make a much greater use of outside ideas. So we're working on one technology, somebody else does something a little bit better, we can take advantage of that. We're not married to our own technology. So HP, we're very good at injections for putting ink into printers. Procter & Gamble had developed an anti-wrinkle cream. So by actually bringing the two technologies together, it was able to create a new product. So IBM were constantly collaborating with outside developers in order to, make their products more valuable. Inside out is, letting your ideas and technologies be used by others. So, we're moving away from the idea that everything has to be patented, everything has to be kept secret, and we're sharing it with other people. So, if you take the classic example of this is Xerox, who developed numerous hardware and software technologies, the Ethernet, the GUI, which is the basis for Windows and Mac computers, the mouse, different things, lasers, all sorts of things were invented that they didn't necessarily have the capacity and the interest in developing, because their focus was on high-speed printers and copiers. So rather than actually just sitting on all this technology, they spun it out. Other people were able to commercialize it and make large profits, but Xerox were never going to use it. So what difference did it make to them if other people use it? So if you think, closed versus open paradigm, what are the comparisons? So in a closed innovation environment, the assumption is that the smart people in the field work for us. Whereas in open innovation, it understands that not all the smartest people necessarily work for us. We need to work with smart people inside and outside the company. So there may be smart people out there that we can work with. So in closed innovation, the idea is that we have to, in order to profit from R&D, we must develop it and ship it ourselves. Whereas in open innovation, there's an understanding that external R&D can create significant value, and that we just need internal R&D to claim some portion of that value. So in closed innovation is, if we discover it, we'll get it to market first, whereas in open innovation, we don't have to originate the research to profit from it. So, in closed innovation, the assumption is whoever gets to market first will win, whereas in open innovation, it's all about creating a better business model, so, actually understand how to monetize it. So in closed innovation, it's create the most and best ideas to win, whereas in open innovation, it's making best use of ideas. So in closed innovation, it's all about controlling the IP so other people can't profit from it, whereas in open innovation, the idea is we can profit from other people's IP. So the strengths of open innovation, you've got visibility, so people can actually see what's going on. They have much better visibility of the technologies that are around, so it's possible for people to add value better. You've got cross-platform communication, so different technologies are sharing information, so you get much better standardization and its ability for things to work together with each other. So if you have something like a USB standard that's publicly available, everybody's able to manufacture products that work with it. So suddenly, if you've got a suite of products that are all chargeable by the same USB cable, people are much more likely to buy them. You get to market an awful lot faster. You've got a diversity of skills, so you've got skill sets. Certain organizations can be very focused, on particular technologies or on particular skills, whereas with open innovation, you've got a much more diverse talent. It's flexible. That diversity allows you to be more agile to change. The open innovation, when you're using outside in, gives you the ability to pivot much more quickly and access to new knowledge pools. You get much more experimentation, so organizations can actually, they have some technology that they're not really in a position to bring to market. They can license it out to another organization and see, and that can experiment with it. It's a really good marketing vehicle. So things like open innovation for organizations like Lego, where they get their customers to actually participate in the design thing, increases brand affinity and makes people very loyal. It's a great way of improving innovation, and generally working with other really effective organizations is a much better way of learning than hiring consultants. And as I said already, in the marketing vehicle, you can get co-creation with customers. So there's a YouTube link there that it's well worth clicking on and seeing examples of open innovation. So one of the great practitioners of open innovation is Intel. So Intel is close to us here in Maynooth and are part of the Innovation Value Institute in Maynooth University, so a partner of the university. So they're the world's largest semiconductor manufacturer. So they compete with IBM in some ways, but they have a much different approach to innovation. So what they're actually interested in is closing the gap between our research and development. So we talk about R&D, so research and development. Research is the scientific research. Development is bringing the stuff to the market. So what they're actually interested in is to close that gap so they can get research into manufacturing as quickly as possible. So they don't actually put a huge amount of research into, or money into basic research. What they're actually interested in a very rapidly changing industry is how do they take the research that's already out there and put it into manufacturing. So they sponsor academic research. So they invest huge amounts of money in universities. They hire postdocs to develop new ways of designing chips. They're constantly monitoring what's going on, what research has been done. They stimulate research in areas of interest. So if there's a particular technology you think has potential, they'll actually, provide resources for other people to do it. So they manage the institution as well as the researcher in order to create this intellectual commons. There's a whole, community of researchers working together. And finally, this idea is that they accept this idea that they don't have to own it to profit from it. So that research is a public good that they can take advantage of. Still, they spend about $4 billion a year on R&D. But they always look outside before determining what their internal research should be. Because if somebody else is working on something interesting, let them do it and then buy it off them. There's no need for them to try and compete with other people. So they organize huge numbers of technology conferences to bring people together. So this gives their own engineers a chance to scan the environment to see what's going on. And they have their own technical journal for internal and external research community. So if it's interesting, it doesn't matter whether it's from Intel or from outside, they're interested in it. And they provide research grants, and they assign Intel employees to work with students they fund. So, students get huge amounts of support from Intel to work on interesting ideas. So then, how does that translate to the inside out and the outside in? So from an inside out perspective, they spend the $4 billion a year, but they're not really that sure if they get business value. So what they did was they created a new framework to help managers get more from their IT investments. This is where the ITCMF, the IT Capability Maturity Framework, and that's at the heart of the IVI and the IT-enabled innovation masters came from. Was the idea is how do we get value out of IT? So what they did was, what they learned from the ITCMF was they set up a joint venture with Maynooth and other organisations, the IVI, and that provides actual training on the ITCMF for other organisations. So they've just go back to that site. So they've actually used the IP they've developed and the knowledge they've developed around the development of a deployment of IT, and they've spun that out as a joint venture. So Procter & Gamble have a connect and develop. So the whole idea is they're looking to actually develop 50% of their innovations from outside the company. So they've got 8,600 scientists in the organization, but there's millions outside the organization. So the chances that they have all the best is just a statistical impossibility. So it makes sense to work with them. And the whole idea is that if they have an idea that isn't used within 3 years, they offer it to the external community so that no idea is wasted. So services then is a different challenge. So manufacturing is one thing. Services tend to be a little bit different, and innovation in services is more challenging. So if we think of, Porter's value chain, where we have these primary and secondary activities, what we're actually interested in is creating a service value web. And the whole idea is that we want to include customers, partners, and complementers from both inside and outside the organization to kind of co-create ideas. So we can elicit tacit knowledge from people in order to design experience points and create a new service. But it's a web and a loop so that we're continuously learning from people both inside and outside the organization to deliver better services. So if we think what's different in services, the primary difference in services is the customer. It's an intangible product, so it's very difficult for people to specify exactly what they want. And different customers, will have a very different experience. So, IBM, it's the delivery of services is all about people. So when IBM is looking to innovate in services, they're looking for people who come from really different backgrounds, people with sociology degrees, anthropology PhDs, to work in the research teams, just to make the team think differently. So, one example is Lego's Mindstorm example. What they're actually used in schools to teach programming and robotics. So this was something that was an internal platform, and is then, shared out with people outside. So they've actually created a service industry to help, with high school science and technology education. So an example of inside out. So Amazon, their third party selling, provide a service for other people. So they have this competence in online sales. So what they've actually done is created a service where they actually make it available to other people. So they create that software as a service, or infrastructure as a service, and platform as a service that's available for other companies. So they now actually have gone from just developing their technology to use to underpin their own retail business, to provide cloud computing services to other companies. Okay, so we're going to just stop there, and we're going to have one more part to finish off on open innovation. I hope you're finding this useful, and like I say, if you have any questions about the content we're covering, just use Moodle or drop me an email or ask a question in class next week. Okay, thanks very much.